Some trades make the news. Some change a season. But every once in a while, a trade hits so hard, so unexpectedly, that it feels like it shakes the entire league. That's exactly what happened on the 1st of February, 2025. No warning, no rumors. Not even a whisper. Then suddenly, the headline dropped. Luka Doncic was traded.
Massive trade happening in the NBA right now. The Dallas Mavericks are trading Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick.
Let that sink in. Not just an all-star, not just a fan favorite. We're talking about a 25-years-old superstar, already with 5 first-team All-NBA selections, a scoring title, and a finals appearance under his belt. A guy people thought would spend his whole career in Dallas. The next Dirk, a statue, a legacy, a lifetime Maverick. And just like that, he was gone. Traded to the Lakers in a deal that felt unreal. No leaks, no noise, just boom, done.
This is a championship franchise, and he wants to contribute to that.
To show how rare this is, in the entire 75-year history of the NBA, only 12 players have ever been traded after being named first-team All-NBA. Since 1980, just 4. This kind of move almost never happens. But this time, it did. And it wasn't just about Luka. His trade happened right in the middle of the wildest trade deadline in NBA history. 63 players moved, including 8 All-Stars. It felt like every team was dealing. But this was different. This one stopped the league cold. Because this wasn't just a trade, it was a turning point. So today, we're looking back at the 10 most shocking trades in NBA history. The ones that left us speechless, the ones that made us question everything, the ones we'll never forget. And it all starts with the moment we realize something no fan ever wants to believe. Even Luka wasn't untouchable. On the 1st of February, 2025, the NBA world was blindsided. No rumors, no leaks, just a single alert that hit every phone like a thunderclap. Luka Doncic had been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers.
My heart is currently racing. I am still in disbelief. At the time that I'm recording this video, we're within 5 minutes of officially receiving this news. I currently am hearing people honking their horns in the background because I live in Los Angeles, and it's because the Los Angeles Lakers easily just swung the biggest trade in their franchise's history. A trade that I didn't even think is possible.
It didn't feel real. Luka was 25 years old. Already a 5-time first-team All-NBA selection. A feat unmatched by many legends at that age. He had led the Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals, topped the league in scoring, and was widely seen as the future face of the league. A once-in-a-generation talent. A player you build around for the next 15 years.
Love everything about his game. Love everything about him. The way he plays the game reminds me of the way I play the game. We're just triple threats. We rebound, we pass, which is the #1 thing on our mind.
And somehow, he was gone. The return package stunned fans even more. Anthony Davis, whose best years were arguably behind him. Max Christie, a young guard still trying to find his role. And just 1 first-round pick. For Luka. To put that in perspective, Rudy Gobert, a defensive specialist, was traded for 5 players and 5 first-round picks. Luka, an offensive genius and MVP-level playmaker, was dealt for a package that barely moved the needle. The deal was done in total silence. No insider leaks. Not even a whisper from agents or team execs. It caught everyone off guard, including reporters like Shams Charania, who called it one of the most surreal trade moments he'd ever seen.
This was the most shocking trade in NBA history for a lot of people, maybe in sports in America. I think that's how surprising it was. And
Mavericks GM Nico Harrison defended the move by pointing to the looming $350 million Supermax extension and even hinted at concerns about Luka's conditioning. But to fans and analysts alike, it didn't add up. This wasn't just a trade, it was a seismic shift, a franchise-defining moment. And depending on how the future plays out, it could go down as the most shocking trade in NBA history. Before Luka shook the league in 2025, there was Pau Gasol in 2008. In February 2009, the Los Angeles Lakers pulled off a trade so lopsided, so jaw-droppingly one-sided, it sent shockwaves across the NBA and changed the course of a dynasty.
Last little nugget, simply the biggest NBA in-season trade so far this year, as the Lakers acquired talented big man Pau Gasol from the Grizzlies.
The Lakers acquired Pau Gasol, a skilled, versatile 7-footer and the best player in Memphis Grizzlies history, without giving up a single player of real value. The return package? Kwame Brown, widely considered one of the biggest draft busts of all time. Aaron McKie, who was technically retired and working as a coach. Javaris Crittenton, a rookie who had barely seen NBA minutes. And the draft rights to Pau's younger brother, Marc Gasol, who had never played a game in the league. At the time, Marc was seen as a throw-in, a footnote. No one expected him to become an all-star, a defensive player of the year, or the eventual cornerstone of the new Grizzlies era. But hindsight aside, the immediate reaction was pure outrage. Spurs head coach Greg Popovich was furious. He publicly called for a trade committee to be formed, just to prevent future deals this ridiculous. His exact words? Beyond comprehension. He wasn't alone. The rest of the league couldn't believe what had just happened. It felt like the Lakers had reached into a candy jar and walked away with the prize without paying. But for the Lakers, the results were undeniable. Pau Gasol arrived and instantly elevated the team. He brought balance, skill, and high IQ basketball, exactly what Kobe Bryant needed. Together, they went to 3 straight NBA Finals, winning 2 championships in 2009 and 2010. Pau wasn't just a contributor. He was the bridge that took Kobe from frustrated superstar to 5-time champion.
The first game in New Jersey, he was talking to me in Spanish, and all the play calls and the coverages, to gain my trust, to connect with me.
Years later, Gasol's impact was so profound, the Lakers retired his jersey alongside Kobe's in the rafters of Crypto.com Arena. And what started as a baffling trade turned into one of the greatest mid-season acquisitions in franchise history. It wasn't just a good move. It was the spark that reignited the Lakers dynasty. If the Pau Gasol trade was a heist, then the Bulls' acquisition of Dennis Rodman in 1995 was more like a circus set aflame, wild, chaotic, and strangely irresistible. This wasn't just a trade. It was a cultural earthquake in basketball history.
Ernie Johnson in Atlanta with the Reebok halftime report. Of all the offseason moves in the NBA, none got more attention than San Antonio's trade of Dennis Rodman to the Chicago Bulls. The planet's best rebounder is also one of its most eccentric characters.
The 3rd of October, 1995. The Chicago Bulls trade Will Perdue, a backup big averaging just 4 points a game, to the San Antonio Spurs for Dennis Rodman. ESPN, newspapers, and locker rooms lit up with shock. This was the same Rodman who had terrorized the Bulls as a member of the Bad Boy Pistons just a few years earlier. Now, he was joining them. On paper, it seemed like a lopsided deal, but Rodman was no ordinary player. He was a walking storm cloud with Hall of Fame rebounding instincts. At the time, Rodman was considered radioactive. Teams avoided him like a PR crisis waiting to happen. He dyed his hair neon green, pierced everything, skipped practices, and once headbutted a referee. He dated Madonna, partied until dawn, and made headlines for all the wrong reasons. His falling out with the Spurs had made him uncoachable in the eyes of many. But if chaos had a uniform, it was Dennis Rodman's number 91. Still, Bulls GM Jerry Krause saw something others didn't. With Michael Jordan returning from baseball and Scottie Pippen still in his prime, Chicago needed one more piece. A rebounder, an enforcer, a defensive anchor. Krause knew that Rodman, despite the baggage, had the IQ and motor to be that guy. But there was a problem. Rodman and Scottie Pippen had history, and it wasn't friendly.
Scottie Pippen starting to go down the lane on the play. He takes it down here. Rodman goes up and just whiplashes him right in the face, kicks him right smack in the face before he could get the shot off.
Back in 1991, Rodman had shoved Pippen into a camera during a playoff series. It left Scottie with a split chin and a grudge. So when the Bulls considered bringing Rodman in, Phil Jackson insisted he had to apologize. What followed felt like a mafia meeting. At Krause's home, Rodman faced Pippen and offered a surprisingly sincere apology. Rodman would later recall in interviews, Phil said, "Go say sorry." So I did. Then I signed. The deal was done. What happened next was the stuff of dynasty lore. Rodman didn't just behave, he dominated. In the 95-96 season, the Bulls went 72-10, the best record in NBA history at the time. Rodman led the league in rebounds with 14.9 per game and continued to do so for 3 straight seasons. He boxed out giants, chased down loose balls like a linebacker, and did the dirty work nobody else wanted to do. Rodman wasn't just a wild man. He was a genius in disguise. He'd watch hours of tape just to understand how missed shots bounced off different rims. He could guard every position. Jordan, in a 2011 interview, called him one of the smartest players I ever played with. Meanwhile, Shawn Kemp once admitted that Rodman's antics in the 1996 finals threw the entire Sonics team off balance. That wasn't luck. That was psychological warfare. Rodman's impact transcended basketball. He blurred the line between athlete and rock star. He wore wedding dresses, appeared on pro wrestling shows, and became a pop culture icon. But behind the antics was a relentless work ethic. Former Bulls teammates said he'd lift weights after games and spend hours studying film. His lifestyle may have been unconventional, but his focus on the court was laser sharp. What looked like chaos was actually a masterstroke. The Bulls didn't just win with Rodman, they thrived. They pulled off the second three-peat from 1996 to 1998, cementing themselves as one of the greatest dynasties in sports. And Rodman, he went from misunderstood maverick to indispensable legend. This trade wasn't just a risk, it was a revolution. Because sometimes, greatness doesn't show up in a suit and tie. Sometimes, it crashes through the door in sunglasses, neon hair, and a Hall of Fame motor. If trading for Dennis Rodman was a flaming circus, then the Jason Kidd-Stephon Marbury swap was a high-stakes poker game in a smoky room. Risky, flashy, and destined to change someone's fortune. On the surface, it looked daring. Underneath, it was a franchise-defining bet.
This happened in 2001 when the Phoenix Suns traded Jason Kidd for Stephon Marbury in a deal that stunned the rest of the NBA.
In 2001, the Phoenix Suns made a trade of Jason Kidd, one of the league's most respected floor generals, and a first-team All-NBA selection to the New Jersey Nets in exchange for 23-year-old Stephon Marbury, a high-scoring point guard who, at the time, seemed destined for superstardom. Kidd had been everything for Phoenix. A master conductor of the offense, a defensive anchor, and a proven leader on the court. But off the court, he had been arrested for domestic violence. And that incident cast a long shadow over his presence in the organization. The Suns, facing growing public pressure and internal tension, made a move that wasn't just about basketball, it was about optics. They wanted a fresh face, a new narrative. And Stephon Marbury, nicknamed Starbury, seemed like the perfect reset button. Marbury was flashy, fearless, and explosive. Coming off a season where he averaged nearly 24 points and 8 assists per game for the Nets, he brought the kind of scoring punch that excited fans. He was young, marketable, and had superstar potential. But there was one problem. He wasn't Jason Kidd. In Phoenix, Marbury continued to put up big numbers. The highlights were there, the step-back threes, the fearless drives to the rim, the swagger, but the team didn't move forward. Not once during Marbury's stint did the Suns win a playoff series. The chemistry never clicked, the leadership never emerged, the promise faded. Meanwhile, across the country, Kidd was doing something remarkable in New Jersey. He walked into a team that had gone 26-56 the year before and instantly transformed them into contenders. In his first season with the Nets, he led them to a 52-30 record and a trip to the NBA Finals. It didn't stop there. He led them back to the Finals again the following year. Back-to-back Eastern Conference titles. With a core of Kenyon Martin, Richard Jefferson, and Kerry Kittles, Kidd didn't need to drop 30 a night. He just made everyone better. His defense, passing vision, and leadership elevated the entire franchise. In hindsight, the contrast between the two paths couldn't be clearer. Phoenix had chosen individual talent over team leadership. They had traded a floor general for a solo act. And while Marbury remained a scoring machine throughout his career, he never elevated another team like Kidd did. He never won a playoff series as a lead guard. Kidd, on the other hand, would go on to rack up 10 All-Street-R appearances, 5 All-NBA first-team selections, 9 All-Defensive teams, and eventually, Chile video a championship ring with the Dallas Mavericks in 2011. The trade wasn't just a miss, it was a lesson, a reminder that leadership can't be measured in points per game, that what a player brings to the scoreboard isn't always what they bring to the locker room, and that sometimes the decision that looks cleaner in a press release isn't the one that wins games. This wasn't just about swapping point guards, it was about identity, values, and the unseen cost of letting go of your floor leader. Phoenix made a move to save face, and in the process, lost their edge. If some trades are gambles, the Nets' 2013 blockbuster was Russian roulette with every chamber loaded. It was bold, reckless, and by the end, catastrophic. What was meant to be a shortcut to a championship became a masterclass in what not to do. In 2013, the Brooklyn Nets swung for the fences and ended up striking out for a decade. Desperate to contend, Brooklyn traded for aging legends Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Jason Terry from the Boston Celtics.
The three players here, all champions, and sitting in the back and just talking to them, what they bring is not just basketball. They'll bring knowledge, they'll bring experience, they'll bring competitiveness, they'll bring toughness. But the biggest thing I think for us as an organization now, I think we've got pieces now that we can compete for a championship.
On paper, it looked like a win-now move to create a super team alongside Deron Williams, Joe Johnson, and Brook Lopez. But the price? It was highway robbery, Gerald Wallace, Chris Humphries, Marshawn Brooks, Chris Joseph, and Keith Bogans, plus 3 unprotected first-round picks, 2014, 2016, 2018, and a 2017 pick swap. Let that sink in. 3 unprotected first-rounders and a swap. No protections, no safety nets, nothing. Just pure, unfiltered risk. And Boston? They played the long game. GM Danny Ainge sat back like a chess master watching Brooklyn implode, then used those picks to draft Jaylen Brown, 2016, and Jason Tatum, 2017 via trade with the 76ers. 2 picks, 2 All-Stars, 2 cornerstones. And now, nearly a decade later, the Celtics are title contenders year after year, thanks to this one trade. Meanwhile, Brooklyn's plan crumbled faster than anyone expected. The so-called super team won just 1 playoff series. Pierce bolted to Washington after just 1 season. Garnett faded out, returning to Minnesota. Jason Terry became a role player. By 2015, the Nets were a shell of a franchise, with no stars and no picks. The impact was catastrophic. Between 2014 and 2018, Brooklyn had 5 straight losing seasons, bottoming out in 2016 with a 21-61 record, the worst in the NBA. Yet they couldn't even tank properly because they didn't control their own draft picks. Every loss only helped Boston get stronger. This wasn't just a bad trade. It became a defining moment in modern NBA history. A masterclass in front office mismanagement versus front office patience. While the Celtics slowly built a dynasty from the ashes, the Nets entered a dark age that lasted nearly 7 years. In hindsight, the deal now serves as the ultimate cautionary tale, taught in front office boardrooms and YouTube documentaries alike. Don't trade unprotected picks for fading stars. Don't mortgage the future for a shot at a one-year window. And perhaps most importantly, never, ever make a deal with Danny Ainge if you're not 100% sure you're winning it. In today's NBA, superstar trades and player empowerment are commonplace. But in the 1960s, this kind of power simply didn't exist. Yet, Wilt Chamberlain flipped the script, not once, but twice.
When the trade was made to bring him back to Philadelphia from San Francisco, I mean, the media just went crazy. I mean, he was like, for a couple of weeks, it was the #1 front page story in the city.
So are you happy or sad about it? Mixed emotions. Actually, I'll be like Tony Bennett leaving my heart here in San Francisco because I fell in love with the city.
In the 19th of January, '65, the cash-strapped San Francisco Warriors stunned the league by trading Wilt, who was averaging a jaw-dropping 39, 3 points and 23.8 rebounds per game, and had already dropped 100 points in a single game, to the Philadelphia 76ers, receiving just $150,000 in cash plus Connie Dierking, Paul Neumann, and Lee Schaefer, none of whom made any impact. 2 years later, after another painful playoff loss to Bill Russell's Celtics, Wilt pulled off the unthinkable. He refused to play unless he was traded to the Lakers, threatening to retire or jump to the ABA. The Sixers relented, sending him to LA. For Darrell Imhoff, Archie Clark, and Jerry Chambers, a return package critics called highway robbery on national television. The result? Wilt joined forces with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, forming the league's first clear super team. By 1972, LA had reeled off a record-setting 33 straight wins and secured Wilt's second championship ring. These moves didn't just shock the NBA, they redefined player agency. Wilt didn't wait for free agency or social media to demand his path. He created it, proving that even in an era without player rights, charisma, leverage, and conviction could reshape the league. He was the blueprint before LeBron, before KD, before Kawhi, of what a superstar could demand. It happened again in 1975, another seismic shift, another icon on the move. This time, it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the league's most skilled big man, fresh off an MVP season in Milwaukee, where he averaged nearly 30 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 assists per game, but he didn't want Milwaukee. He wanted a bigger stage, a bigger legacy. He wanted either Los Angeles or New York, nothing in between. Kareem made his intentions clear. The city didn't match his worldview or his personal goals. And in an era before free agency, when players were expected to stay put, Kareem took control. The Bucks didn't resist. They pulled the trigger and sent him to Los Angeles. In return, Elmore Smith, Brian Winters, Junior Bridgman, and Dave Myers. Solid players, productive players, but none would ever touch Kareem's greatness. Not all stars, not MVPs, not icons. This was the equivalent of trading a Ferrari for a handful of reliable sedans. At the time, it barely registered as a blockbuster. But in hindsight, it was a tectonic moment in NBA history. Kareem didn't just join the Lakers, he defined them. He became the bridge between two dynasties, from the gritty post-Wilt era to the glamorous Showtime years. With Magic Johnson by his side, he led the team to 5 championships, earned 6 MVPs total, and became the NBA's all-time leading scorer, holding that record for 38 years until LeBron James finally broke it in 2023. But the impact wasn't just on the court. That trade cemented Los Angeles as the mecca for basketball stardom. It opened the door for decades of legends to follow. Magic, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron. Kareem showed what was possible when a transcendent player landed in a major market with championship ambitions. It shifted the balance of power in the league for generations. Today, We call these moves superstar empowerment. But back then, Kareem did it first, with quiet confidence and historical consequences. By 2004, the Shaq and Kobe experiment had run its course. 3 titles, 1 dynasty, countless headlines. On the surface, they were unstoppable, arguably the most dominant duo since Jordan and Pippen. But underneath, the cracks had turned into craters. The tension had been simmering for years. Shaq wanted more respect. Kobe wanted more control. Their personalities, both alpha, both relentless, collided constantly. The 2004 finals was the last straw. The Lakers, overwhelmed by the gritty Detroit Pistons, collapsed in 5 games. After the series, Kobe finally said what had long been brewing. "I'm not playing with him again." That was it. The end of an era. The Lakers made their choice: youth, longevity, and Kobe. So they shipped Shaquille O'Neal, the most dominant big man since Wilt Chamberlain, to the Miami Heat. The return? Lamar Odom, Karen Butler, Brian Grant, and a future first-round pick. On paper, a balanced package. In reality, it was the breaking of a basketball empire. Shaq arrived in Miami with a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. The league had started to count him out. He was aging, injured, and no longer the sole center of attention. But with a young, electric Dwayne Wade at his side, Shaq re-energized. The Heat became instant contenders. By 2006, they hoisted the franchise's first NBA championship, with Shaq as both anchor and mentor. Meanwhile, the Lakers entered a transitional phase. Kobe, now the undisputed leader, endured tough years, missing the playoffs in 2005, losing in the first round in 2006 and 2007, but he evolved, hardened, reborn. And by 2009, he was back on top, winning back-to-back championships and proving he could carry a team on his own terms. But this trade wasn't just about basketball. It was about ego, about identity, about legacy. It was 2 alpha males, 2 gods of the game, refusing to share the throne. And in doing so, they created something rare. 2 separate dynasties born from one explosion. Shaq became Miami royalty, his jersey now hanging in the rafters of the Kaseya Center. Kobe ascended to Laker immortality, a one-franchise icon. His number, 8, and number, 24, both retired. Their split reshaped 2 franchises and altered the course of NBA history. Kyrie Irving nailed one of the greatest shots in NBA history, a clutch 3-pointer over Steph Curry in Game 7 of the 2016 Finals that sealed Cleveland's first title in over 50 years. But just a year later, Kyrie asked out of Cleveland. He didn't want to live in LeBron's shadow anymore. He wanted his own spotlight. So in 2017, he was traded to Boston for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Ante Zizic, and a 2018 first-round pick. On paper, it looked like a win-win. Boston got a rising all-star. Cleveland got Isaiah Thomas. But the truth was darker. Isaiah's hip injury derailed his career. Crowder didn't fit. Zizic barely played. And the pick became Colin Sexton. Not nearly enough for Irving's value. In Boston, Kyrie was electric, dazzling the Garden and raising expectations. But behind the scenes, things unraveled. Locker room tension, mixed signals about his future resigning, and a disappointing 35% shooting slump in the 2019 playoffs against Milwaukee. "I should have shot 30, he later admitted. Boston never made the finals with him, and Kyrie departed via free agency to Brooklyn. The Celtics moved forward, building around Tatum and Brown, while Cleveland was left wondering how a finals hero became a what-if. The Thunder had it all: Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. 3 future MVPs, all under the age of 24. In 2012, they had just made the NBA Finals, pushed by youth, speed, and a fearless swagger. The basketball world assumed a dynasty was just getting started. But behind the scenes, storm clouds were gathering. Harden was eligible for an extension. He wanted the max $60 million over 4 years. Oklahoma City offered $55.5 million, a difference of just $4, $5 million, a rounding error in today's cap-rich NBA. But to OKC ownership, it meant crossing into the luxury tax, a line they weren't willing to step over. A dynasty wasn't just tested, it was traded. 12 days before the season started, the Thunder sent Harden to the Houston Rockets for Kevin Martin, Jeremy Lamb, and 2 first-round picks, one of which became Steven Adams. The return? Reasonable on paper, devastating in hindsight. Harden exploded in Houston. He wasn't just a sixth man anymore. He was the Beard, an offensive system unto himself. In his first game as a Rocket, he dropped 37 points and 12 assists. It was a warning shot to the league. Over the next 8 seasons, he would become a scoring champion, a 3-time assist leader, a 2018 MVP, and one of the most unguardable players the league had ever seen. Step backs, isolation, foul drawing, he revolutionized the game and made Houston a contender nearly every year. Meanwhile, OKC watched their golden trio vanish. They never returned to the finals. Durant left for Golden State in 2016. Westbrook was eventually traded. And the team that was once seen as the NBA's future faded into what-ifs. It wasn't just a trade. It was a collapse, a sliding door moment that still haunts Thunder fans today, all over $4.5 million. To this day, it stands as one of the most lopsided, financially driven trades in modern NBA history. Not because they doubted Harden's talent, but because they chose short-term savings over long-term banners. The kind of decision that reshapes franchises for a generation. From Wilt to Kawhi, these trades didn't just move players, they moved the league. They shattered the idea that anyone's untouchable. They proved one text can change a franchise. And they showed us that behind every deal is ego, power, and the dream of winning it all. Because in today's NBA, stars don't wait to be traded. They make it happen. And sometimes, one move doesn't just change a team. It changes history. If you like this video, don't forget to press the subscribe button and ring the bell to receive notifications about the latest videos from our channel. Please leave your comments and suggestions below in the comments section, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. This action also contributes to motivating us to work even more diligently. Have a great day.